The Igbo are widely known as one of Africa's most entrepreneurial people. Long before modern Nigeria, trade connected Igbo communities through bustling markets and regional commerce. After the Nigerian Civil War, many families had lost almost everything. Yet through determination, family support and the Igbo apprenticeship system, thousands rebuilt their life from scratch. Today, Igbo-owned businesses can be found across Nigeria, Africa, Europe, Asia, and North America. Their success is a testament to resilience and hard work. But success also raises an important question. If the Igbo have built wealth in almost every major city, why has a comparatively smaller share of that long-term investment been directed towards building industries, factories, and large institutions within Igboland itself? The question lies at the heart of this documentary. To answer it, we must first understand why so many Igbo entrepreneurs left home in the first place. Their decision to invest outside Igboland was not made by accident. It was driven by opportunity. During colonial era, the British developed major ports, railways, and commercial centers in cities like Lagos, Port Harcourt, and Kano. These locations became the gateway for trade, attracting merchants from across Nigeria. After the Civil War, many Igbo entrepreneurs had little capital and needed the largest markets to rebuild quickly. They went where customers were, where imported goods arrived, and where business opportunities were greatest. That strategy worked remarkably well. Within a generation, the Igbo had become the most commercially successful groups in Nigeria. But every successful strategy must evolve with changing realities. A decision that made perfect sense 50 years ago may require fresh thinking today. As Igbo businesses flourished across Nigeria and Africa, another question quietly emerged: who was benefiting the most from these investments? Whenever a businessman builds a factory, a shopping plaza, or a warehouse, he's doing more than creating personal wealth. He's creating jobs, he's increasing land values, he's generating tax revenue, he's helping another city grow stronger. Economists have long argued that private investment is one of the greatest drivers of regional development. Reports by World Bank and African Development Bank show that businesses attract infrastructure, industries, and more investment over time. Now imagine if a larger share of Igbo capital had been invested in Aba, Nnewi, Onitsha, Enugu, Oka, Owerri, Umuahia, and Abakaliki. How many more factories would exist today? How many more jobs would have been created? While no one can say the exact answer, the possibility is worth considering. But economics is only part of the story. The other part is about protecting wealth from risk beyond business itself. Business owners prepare for competition, changing markets, and economic downturns, but some risks cannot be predicted. Over the years, there have been documented cases where foreign-owned businesses, including those owned by Nigerians, were affected by xenophobic violence in South Africa. In Ghana, disagreements over retail trade regulations have also led to periods where some foreign-owned shops, including those operated by Nigerians, were closed or faced legal uncertainty. Even within Nigeria, episodes of political tension, communal unrest, and civil disturbances have disrupted businesses in different cities, sometimes leading to significant financial losses. These events do not mean that investing outside Igboland is unwise. Millions of businesses continue to operate successfully across Nigeria and Africa every day. However, they serve as an important reminder that wealth concentrated outside one's home region may face risk beyond the control of even the most experienced entrepreneurs. If history teaches us anything, it is that the world's most successful business communities never forgot to strengthen their home economic foundations.
This is pure injustice. This is injustice. This is somebody's property. People are moving out from his building. Look at the vehicles. The comment is nice. He said the governor said you should come and pack this thing and sell my properties. This is pure injustice. This is pure injustice. This is injustice. The higher order. Where control? say that the governor is aware that you people are coming there to vandalize and back all my properties. This is pure injustice. This is pure injustice. If this belongs to you and you're taking it like this, will you be happy? This is my property that you people are moving and packing everything in my building, taking it, buying them, selling them. And you say that the commissioner of police sent you and the governor sent you. It's somebody's property. Eh? This is pure injustice.
Throughout history, many successful trading communities expanded globally without neglecting their homeland. After economic reforms, overseas Chinese invested heavily in industries back home, helping transform cities like Shenzhen into global manufacturing centers. Members of the Indian diaspora also invested billions of dollars in technology, education, healthcare, and manufacturing, contributing to India's rapid economic growth while maintaining businesses abroad. Their strategy was not to choose between home and the world, it was to succeed in both. This is the lesson many people believe that Igbos can learn. Building factories, technology hubs, logistics centers, and industries in Igboland does not prevent investment elsewhere. Instead, it creates a stronger foundation from which global businesses can continue to grow. Fortunately, Igboland already possesses many of the ingredients needed to become one of Africa's leading economic regions. Igboland is not starting from zero. Aba has earned a reputation for manufacturing, leatherworks, garments, and skilled craftsmanship. Nnewi is widely recognized as one of Nigeria's leading industrial cities, home to numerous locally owned manufacturing companies. Onitsha remains West Africa's busiest commercial center, while Enugu continues to grow as a hub for education, technology, and professional services. These cities already have entrepreneurs, skilled workers, and thriving markets. What many analysts argue is still needed is a larger long-term investment in industries, industrial parks, logistics, energy, and modern infrastructure. If successful Igbo investors choose to establish factories, research centers, export businesses, and technology companies at home, these cities could become even stronger engines of economic growth. The potential is already there. The question is whether enough capital will be directed towards unlocking it. But economic transformation does not begin with government alone. It often begins when investors make bold decisions. Many people believe government creates economic prosperity, but in reality, history often shows the opposite. Businesses move first, workers follow, demands grow, then government and financial institutions respond with better roads, electricity, housing, schools, and transport systems. This pattern has been repeated in many successful economies around the world. When investors consistently choose one location, banks open new branches, developers build homes, universities expand, and supporting industries emerge. Imagine thousands of successful Igbo entrepreneurs committing part of their long-term investment to industrial projects across Igboland. The impact would extend far beyond individual profit. It could create employment, encourage innovation, strengthen local supply chains, and provide opportunities for future generations. Strong economies are rarely built by government alone. They are built when private investors believe in the future of their own communities. At the same time, wise investors know that putting all their wealth in one place, whether at home or abroad, is really the best strategy. The next chapter explores why balance matters. Every successful investor understands the importance of diversification. Owning businesses in different cities and countries can reduce certain risks and open new opportunities. The Igbo have mastered this strategy for generations, becoming respected entrepreneurs across Nigeria and around the world. But diversification should never become over-concentration. When too much of a family's lifetime wealth is tied to location outside its homeland, unexpected events, political tension, policy changes, insecurity, or economic shocks can have far-reaching consequences. The argument is not to abandon external market. It is to ensure that Igboland remains one of the strongest pillars of Igbo wealth. A factory in Aba, a logistic hub in Onitsha, a technology company in Enugu, or a manufacturing plant in Nnewi is more than a business. It is an investment in the future strength of the homeland. The goal is simple: build globally, but never neglect home. If today's entrepreneurs make different investment choices, the next generation could inherit a very different Igboland.
My name is Honora Ezokafo. I'm from Anambra State in Nigeria. Some videos were put up on social media by me, and I want to make clarification because a lot of people were asking what actually happened. So I just want to take out this time to explain what actually happened. This is regarding the Mandela's property, where some of the videos showed where people were looting properties that belong to the building that I own through my company, Area FM Radio Limited. Mandela's building was formerly belonging to Mandela's Group Limited. But sometime in 2020, the company wanted to sell the property and they offered it to the public. I picked an interest and I bid for the property, and we agreed, on the price of the property. But due to the fact that the property was it's a 17-story building, so the amount was also huge. I didn't even have the money then. So what I did was I seek for financing from Zenith Bank. So 2019, I wrote a letter for financing of the project of that property from Zenith Bank. That was Mr. Ebenezer, was the former GMD of Zenith Bank. So he approved that loan.
Every generation faces a defining challenge. For the generation after the Civil War, the challenge was survival and rebuilding. For today's generation, the challenge is transformation. Young Igbo entrepreneurs now operate in a digital economy where technology, innovation, and knowledge matters as much as physical location. This creates an opportunity to build globally competitive brands and businesses from within Igboland itself. Imagine software companies in Enugu serving international clients. Imagine factories in Aba exporting products across Africa. Imagine industrial expansion in Nnewi creating thousands of skilled jobs. These are not impossible dreams. They are possibilities that depend on vision, investment, and collaboration. The future of Igbo entrepreneurship does not have to be defined only by where Igbo trade. It can also be defined by what they choose to build at home, because true wealth is measured not only by what we earn, but by what we leave behind. Money comes and goes, but lasting institutions can serve generations. A successful business can provide income for one family. A factory can employ thousands. An industrial estate can transform an entire community. A university, hospital, or research center can continue creating opportunities long after its founders are gone. History shows that the world's most prosperous regions were built by people who invested not only for profit, but for permanence. Imagine an Igboland where industrial parks, modern hospitals, technology hubs, export processing zones, and vocational training centers, all funded through partnership between private investors and government. This is the kind of investment that creates generational wealth. The question is no longer whether the Igbo know how to build successful businesses. They have already answered that. The new question is where the next generation of landmark investments will rise. If those investments increasingly return home, what could the future of Igboland look like? An Igboland where young graduates no longer feel compelled to live in search of opportunity. Imagine about becoming one of Africa's leading manufacturing centers. Imagine Nnewi expanding its reputation as Nigeria's industrial powerhouse. Imagine Onitsha evolving into a world-class logistics and export hub, while Enugu becomes a center for technology, finance, education, and innovation. This vision will not become reality overnight. It will require visionary entrepreneurs, supportive government policies, improved infrastructure, access to finance, and sustained private investment. The Igbo have repeatedly demonstrated resilience, creativity, and determination in rebuilding after adversity. The same qualities that build successful businesses across Nigeria and the world can also build one of Africa's most dynamic regional economies. The opportunity is there, the talent is there. The question is whether the investment will follow. And that brings us to the final message in this documentary. This documentary is not a call to withdraw from Nigeria or the global economy. The Igbo have always been traders, innovators, and explorers. That spirit should never be lost. Instead, this is a call for balance. Continue to invest in Lagos, Abuja, Kano, and international markets where opportunities exist, but let every major success also plant a seed at home. Build factories in Aba, support industries in Nnewi, develop technology companies in Enugu, expand logistics in Onitsha, create opportunities across Southeast. A stronger Igboland does not weaken the Igbo presence elsewhere, it strengthens it, because the people with a prosperous homeland can engage the world with greater confidence and resilience. The Igbo have shown that they can build wealth anywhere. The next chapter of that remarkable story may be written by building even more of that wealth at home. Future is never decided by one person. It is shaped by millions of decisions made every day. Every shop opened, every factory built, every investment made, every young entrepreneur mentored. Whether you fully agree with the ideas in this documentary or see them differently, one thing is certain: a conversation about the future of Igbo investment is worth having. Do you believe more private investment should return to Igbo land? If so, which sector should come first? Manufacturing, technology, agriculture, education, or infrastructure? Share your thoughts respectfully in the comments below. We look forward to hearing different perspectives. If you enjoyed this documentary, please like, subscribe, and turn on notification for more in-depth stories on the history, economy, and future of Southeast and the Igbo people. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next documentary.